Oh, cool. And we are live. And hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our very first Shine the Light with the beautiful Sarah and myself. Yeah, we're very excited to see where today's conversation will go. But first, before we dive into any question, any channeling, we would just like to have a little chat about the current energies that are happening. So we're in the energy of the full moon today. The full moon will be tonight. And it's actually a pink moon in Libra, and it's called a pink moon in Libra because a flower in the northern hemisphere, North America, it's a pink mossy flower, and it starts growing now. That's why it's called a pink flower. So it's kind of the beginning of spring. It's not kind of, it is the beginning of spring in North America. So this is in the northern hemisphere, the moon that starts new beginnings, blossoming. And as we're in the April energy still, which is the one energy month of this year, the first one energy month, we are still in that energy of new beginnings. So this is another invitation for us to look at what we want to create for the rest of the year and what we would like to dive into, where we want to put our focus on and our intentions. So this is really a great time to reflect and journal and think about the things that we want to create. Now, the Libra, it basically means that the moon is in the sign of the Libra. Libra is a star sign that is governed by the planet Venus, and Venus is all about the feminine aspect. So the feminine energies, and how can we invite more femininity into our life. And would you like to take over from there, Sarah?
Yeah, no, I just want to say hello, everyone. It's so lovely to be here with you, Leah. Thank you for, we've been having conversations about bringing this together to share conversations, of what's top of mind. So I'm really, really grateful to be here. Yeah, so before we went live, we were having, a private conversation about, the energy about what's happening at the moment. And I love your in-depth knowledge around the star signs and how, everything's moving. I really, really love that. So, when you bring that energy in, Leah, I really love that. I think it really starts to open up. We were talking about before we came live, like, what's the energy? How are we feeling at the moment? And for me, like, I'm really feeling in that feminine energy at the moment. Like, I'm really feeling in that kind of playful, that kind of, the full moon is like this fullness of kind of, it's almost coming to a point of just, it's, for me at the moment, it's really yummy. Like, it's really feminine, it's really yummy. It's so much about gratitude for me right now. I just feeling, for instance, I just finished a 5-day juice cleanse, and I was so excited to actually go back to tasting some food, and I was just in so much gratitude for like food and going, oh my gosh, I've got teeth that I can chew with, and I was just diving deep into all the steps of what the gratitude was, just something so simple, and for the enjoyment of the food that I was going to experience. So it's for me at the moment, the energy feels really, really lovely, like really, like you were saying, and it being a pink full moon is this blossom, and it's the opportunity to feel the fullness and almost to kind of allow it to perpetuate out, like ripple out. It has this pixie dust effect for me, like when I see the flower that you described and the beautiful color pink, it's so divine. It's just yummy at the moment.
It is. And really, I also pulled a card before we came on for the collective energy, which is the 8 of Hearts, which again is like you just described, that feeling of the yumminess coming out. The 8 is all about really power in love and relationships and having those connections with others. But for me, the red color really represents also the connection between women. And that's why I just don't know. I'm just so excited that we're here together. And I just looked at the time and we were at 4:44. So I don't know. It's just like, it's just magic today.
No, it feels really, it does feel a time, like I was saying to you, like pixie dust. It does feel a time of magic right now. It feels a time that we can sort of tap into that, if we choose to, right? You know, I'm the Queen of Hearts, so I'm just like bursting with bubbles of love as well. You know, I feel so amplified in that, and not only to share that, but I feel really amplified within myself. Actually, I feel really, really grounded in gratitude around that, and an appreciation of how far I've come. You know, taking those moments just to have that gratitude of, just gratefulness as well, which, you know, I feel when we come into that gratitude as well, it can also, it manifests into generosity, because you feel so full, that you can give. You know, there's that old saying in the Toltec tradition, you know, you cannot give what you do not have. And I feel this is a real time to be generous.
Yeah, I did have this thought the other day, which is around love again as well, you know, and being a single person and being dating, and I got hurt a couple of times, and I just said, I'm not going to let my love not flow, you know, like I'm not doing that anymore, because there was a time where I was just so scared of being hurt that I wouldn't actually share love, because I was so scared that. But when you're in this point where you just have love overflowing, the 8 of Hearts, you know, you've got so much love that it doesn't matter. I'm still going to love everybody. I'm not going to withhold love anymore.
And that's important. That's beautiful, Leah.
Yeah. I think, you know, we all have, just imagine a world full of people that just love unconditionally everybody all the time. Like, how beautiful would that be?
Wouldn't it be lovely? Or, you know, even if there are times when we do go through those, you know, the cycle, when we look at that figure 8, right, when we look at the infinity symbol, we can, you know, we still go through cycles, and sometimes we, you know, like the way that I'm feeling now, I know there'll be times where maybe perhaps I'm not, you know, feeling this heightened, because there are cycles that we go through. But what I think what happens is, if you've built this kind of, I see like a little tippy tent, you know, over the whole world, that, you know, you can tap into that, knowing that you can tap into it if there are things that you're going through. And we all go through life, right? We all go through life. We all, you know, have kind of triggers, and we, you know, those are many conversations to have. But where we bring always the past into the present conditions, and we stay in the past, like, you know, like you were saying, now you allow yourself to open to love and to receive love. So when we come through those cycles of life, the divine timing, you know, it's continuous, as we know. It's just continuous, and depending on how long you want to stay in certain things, or how quickly you move through them, we just have those moments where perhaps it's time to not be all out there. It's time for inner growth and those sort of things. But knowing that you can tap into that, and if other people are giving and being generous, then that's this whole figure of 8. It's like, wow, you know, we're all in this beautiful flow of sharing.
Yeah, I feel because I have connected way more with my fellow Mindshift graduate friends, and you know, my peeps, just my people. I've just been connecting more with my people. I've been reaching out more, and that has just showed me that, you know, that when you, in those times where you need space for growth and you need that that rest, if you've got people loving you unconditionally, you've got a great foundation to feeling brave for self-expression. No matter how you feel at that point, if you've got those foundations behind you that just hold the space no matter what, it just gives you foundation that you can grow out, just like this pink flower that is growing out now. You know, it's rooted, but it's coming out and it's showing, and it's the start of something new. And I think you know, with any flower, for it to grow, there needs to be the intention for it to grow, then there needs to be the environment for it to grow, and then there needs to be love.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, the magic triangle that we have. of.
Yeah, I love that. And it leads me into my mind where I was thinking a little bit yesterday in terms of our chakras, right? And we look at our root chakra. Now, our root chakra is at the base of our tailbone, right? So in terms of energetic wise, and the root chakra comes at the bottom of the tailbone. You have all these roots, these shoots that come down through your tailbone. So it makes sense when you understand that that's actually taking place in your physical body. If there's stuff going on, the roots can't penetrate into the earth and take root and be stable in that. So you're absolutely right. It's the foundations of everything else. It's like the first, you know, the first universal law. Once that is there, you know, the rest of it naturally has to play with it. It's I was talking to somebody else, funny enough, yesterday about that kind of subject and thinking about how things bleed out into many other things. So if you talk about your values, if you pick 3 of your values, say it was happiness, love, gratitude, it does not mean that the rest of the other 65,000 values that are out there are not part of that. It's like you cannot, you know, those are your foundations, but they're all part of everything. So once your root chakra is firmly rooted, which I think, you know, I certainly did a lot of work around my root chakra, and I continue to do that too, because it's so important to your foundational work in everything that you do, because it's like a tree. A tree can move in the wind, it can be blown, it can go through all kinds of weather, but it's still rooted in the ground, you know, into the earth. And yeah, I think that's really powerful to understand from a physical perspective within our body as well, when we're talking about our coccyx, and how our physical body represents the tree, right? I don't know, it floats my boat, those things.
If we think about the roots of a tree as well, we know that a forest, the tree that's the most southern can communicate with the tree that's the most northern, because the roots are interconnected. And if there's not the roots of the tree, it's interconnected, then there is the fungus that connects the roots. So the information keeps on getting passed around through the forest. And that's the same with our root chakra, right? When we are grounded into Mother Earth, we can get information.
Exactly.
And we think that to get information, you know, to channel and to, which everybody, by the way, can do, to channel, it's kind of something that comes in through the top. But no, if you think about it, and we're looking at the picture of the roots of a tree, you know, we get our nutrients, the tree gets the nutrients, and it gets the, so the way we transport thoughts and feelings and emotions is through our central nervous system, and it goes really fast. A tree has got a central nervous system too, just the information gets passed on slower. And I know that you know this because you talk about ideas percolating a lot, and percolating is just, you know, drops coming in and in. So I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, the when you're grounded and you feel safe and you get these informations, that's what it is. It is the unity consciousness. It is that knowledge of the ancestors, more or less, that come in through the roots and that are just percolating into your physical body.
And I love that you said that. And this, when we talk about you know, we can all channel, right? We can all channel. But if you don't have the foundational knowledge of knowing that we are all connected, right? Because if we are all connected and you can channel, that means I can channel, because we're connected. But if there's not a belief and an understanding and a knowing around that, then that's where people perhaps have a block, as they call it. I prefer to call it that the circuitry's not been connected. So, and I love that analogy, because if you understand that universal law that we are connected, we are one, then it makes sense that whatever anybody else can do that we perceive outside of ourselves is also part of us. Does that make sense? And remembering with the analogy of the root the roots of the tree going into the soil, it's dark in the soil, right? It's dark in there. It can be cold. It can be, it can feel those kind of those things of being so dark and so deep. And naturally, as human beings, our natural biological aspect of who we are naturally wants to come into the light. It will find a way to come up and grow out of the soil. And I truly feel connected to that. Like I can feel that when I say it in my body, that this is, we talk about spiritual growth and we talk about going into the light, but I think there's some missing pieces around that it's not so woo-woo. I think there's really some aspects of using the tree analogy, using the biological aspects of our physical body, the way that our cells biologically move. And good morning, everybody. I'm not sure who those comments are from.
Rosalie and Kath with us. Good morning.
So I really feel that's important, and that's where the work comes in, right? You and I have done Mind Shift with Joy, and I've had a few more other mentors behind me as well. And you just keep learning the foundations, because you've got all the fungi, you've got all these mushrooms that are working underneath everything to help you go to the light. We are naturally light-seeking beings because we naturally, it's in our blueprint, it's in our DNA to naturally want to grow.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things that are missing that people call blocks is just the circuitry connections within our physical body to place them, so that we can build the layers, so that we can grow.
And that's where the holistic view comes in. You can't just work on one thing, you have to work on everything at all times. And I do, you can get a little bit confused about, oh, now I need to do this, now I need to do this, now, and well, what's going on? But it's actually so much more simple. I feel like in a world of the internet is great. We've got all the information available to us, but there's also so much information. And for somebody who is just diving into this topic, it might get a little bit overwhelming. So
but the foundation, because like we were saying, if you have your 3 values, the rest of it is going to naturally come to you. So inadvertently, you're already working on all those aspects. They're not singular. So you pick something for you that is where you want to work on. If that's working on your root chakra, understanding what the root chakra means stability, it's being grounded, it's being, whatever's going on in your life, work on that. The rest of it will naturally align to that. It's a universal law. So it doesn't have to be complicated. We are a species of overcomplicating things, so it doesn't have to be complicated. So I love the simplicity of it, as you said.
Yeah,
really is simple.
So if you're here with us and you have a question, let us know. Feel like this.
We'd love to chat with you. Yes. This is about, Leah and I spoke about it, having a space where it's, bring it. And this is not about teaching. This is, sharing, so that we can co-create, we can open up subjects and go down kind of holes that perhaps we haven't thought of, and your experiences, what you've actually experienced out there, or your perception, or how you see certain situations, so that together that we can have these conversations. This is what something, we agree on. This is why we're together, that we love to do. And I call it a bit chewing the fat. I know that sounds a bit disgusting, but I don't mean it like that. It's like chewing the fat. It's like you chew it and you break it up, and you change the structure of it, you change the bio of it, and you experience something different with it, so that it's not feeling so domesticated in a subject. We're not feeling so, well, that's just it. Because let's get curious, let's start asking questions, and let's just see where it goes. I mean, that's part of life. Let's get into the habit of doing that. I think we've lost the habit of asking questions. As children, perhaps, we experience, well, why are you asking that question? Don't ask that question. That's the answer. So it can suppress that, perhaps. So we want to unlock that, don't we?
Yes. Coming back to our conversation, having that container where you can grow your roots so that you can feel stable to grow more. That's what we want.
I love that. Beautiful. So come on, come community, come share with us. Come give us some questions. But yeah, I'm loving this warmer weather, which is really nice. I think that's so warming for the grounding, which with the opening that we're experiencing right now, it's it's a really rich time. I feel now.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel so much love, so much love.
Yeah, and I feel like anything that is planted now is going to bear a lot of fruits. I can just feel this excitement in the air.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it definitely does have that element of excitement. It's it's like, what's next? Like, what's next for me? Like, what's next? What now am I the creator of? What now can I? What's my next footstep that I can take in creating what it is that you want to create? And that's what we are creators. You can't get away from that. You are the creators of everything in your life. And I think that's certainly when you're going through some self-development stuff, it's probably a hard one to understand at times, that we are the creators of everything. I find in many conversations, and even in situations that I've had myself, I'm like, how is that possible that I created that? I still have those moments where I have to dive deep to understand what I created, and then why I created it, and what my part was in that. What was my authenticity within myself that I was not aware of, or I chose not to look at it, or justified it in some way. And when I start to do the steps backwards, and I get to then you get the most beautiful gift about how you created that whole piece.
It can be very confronting too sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not saying it's not ugly at times, but and like, when it's funny, because when I find I go through those moments, when I actually get a moment to step back and have a look, and throughout our time together, I'll share some more. But when you actually do get to look at those moments, when you do get to see them for really what they are, and for the responsibility of yourself, they're not scary. They're kind of like, oh, I got it. I get it. Okay. All right. I need to bring in more love for myself. It's not about judgment. It's not about doing it wrong or not doing it right. It really is about, for me anyway, for me, it's about responsibility, about ownership and authenticity for me. It's about really that first thought that you have, the very, very first one that you have about whatever's going on. That's your gold nugget, to realize what that first thought was.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're so quick, because we are creative beings, we are amazing beings, and we're so quick to layer it, and like we push it right back, and we go, oh yes, the reason I did that was because of that. The reason I did that, and you go back and you won't go back. It's quite a gift, and that's I think where that language comes in, when people say, some of the hard times that we go through, there's a gift in it. And this is like the conversations I want to have. What does that mean to people? Like, how do other people understand that? How do you understand when people say there's a gift in it? Like, how do you understand that? And that's my interpretation, is going back to the very first thought that I had when I made a choice, or when I made a decision. If I can find that, I can find my healing.
Yeah.
If it needs to be healed.
Yeah. But saying that, you're a ruling number 9, right? So you're very much in your head. So for you, it's a thought. I'm a ruling number 8. So for me, it's an emotion. What is that first emotion that I felt? And then somebody who is more on the physical plane, it might be something more something that they felt in their body when it happened. You know, when we get triggered, sometimes we can feel it in our body happening. So I just wanted to
1,000%, yeah. And a ruling number nine can feel pretty much all of those as well. Like a ruling number nine, that's
everybody can feel everything.
Exactly. And I feel absolutely, when you can go back to that gold nugget, you can say, well, what was my reason? What was I feeling? Was I feeling rejected? That it could be, was I feeling rejected? So I compensated, and now I'm not really having a good time, and I'm blaming somebody else that I'm not having a good time. But really, I created that because I was feeling rejected, right? Or I was feeling I wasn't worthy. So I made all these compensations, all these decisions, and then it didn't go the way that I wanted, and it's that person's fault. And then we get angry and we get all this, yeah. And for me, that's how I see that. How that's how my interpretation is what was my why, of why I made that decision. Why did I say yes to that?
That is the root, your root trigger, or it might not be exactly the root trigger, but it might be an outside trigger. I see like, you know, a wound is in the middle, and then we've got all of these other triggers on the outside. So it's coming closer to the wound, and the shifts that I've had over the last 6 months, you're like, whoa, that one was a big one. That was a bigger one.
Yeah. And again, it's like opens up another question about a wound, right? When people talk about a wound, like, what is that for people? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
Is the wound actually a perception of what you thought a situation was? Right? So, and this is what I loved. This is what I'm talking about, chewing the fat, because we take something and go, oh, that's my wound, right? And I automatically go to an open wound. And yes, you can use that analogy, but I want to understand what that means to other people. Like, that's why, you know, I want to create and with you and share these things, because I want to understand what that means to some people. Like for me, my wounds is what was my perception around that? My wound is that, let's just say that I felt my mother rejected me or abandoned me, right? That was my perception in that moment of time where I decided, because responsibility comes back to me, I decided that I'm going to create that story and go, my mum abandoned me. But that was my perception. And look, and before I go any further, nothing's right or wrong here, right? It's okay that you had that perception. It is totally fine. So what you can do is to help with the wound, so to speak, is to look at the perspective of perhaps that parent. Now you're adults, you're in an adult body. It was a 7-year-old time. And you can come into that and go, well, that was my perception, but that actually wasn't really true. What happened? And you get to see it from that point of view. You get to release the story. The power comes back to you. You heal the wound. So I do really love to dive deep into the language of spirituality, because I think sometimes it's very, very contained, you know, like blocks. Like blocks for me are very heavy, and they're like carrying these blocks on your back. And, you know, what if we changed it up and said the circuitry's not there? There's a gap missing. It's like your computer. You don't have we haven't downloaded that information yet. We haven't got the perspective of the parent. We've only got the perspective of yours. That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that's not too deep for everybody, but it's something I really am really close to and cherish so much with these conversations, because I don't know the truth. I'm open, curious, and ready to explore.
I feel having these conversations show how powerful you actually are in creating.
1,000%.
Because, you know, we all say we're creators, we're co-creators. You know, we can create whatever we want. Everything that we've always created, we have created. But then when you look at going back, how have I actually created this, and going all back to, that first root, and then that second root, and then that third root, you can actually see that you can shift it by yourself, or you can have somebody there guiding you as well. I feel for me, I always need somebody else to guide me. But yeah, it changes. You just see it, and then you can release it, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
It's the journey going back that is sometimes confrontational, because you have to live through those memories. But then when you get to the root, you can just say, I see you. And then you can just let it go. And it's so beautiful and easy,
And remembering the going back is only a memory. You can choose not to live it, because it cannot hurt you there now, because it's in the past. But what's really cool, and this is where people do need support, is the physical body remembers. The physical body is an amazing mechanical system that we still to this day really don't know enough about. And but one thing I do know through all my work is our body holds memory. Our body physically holds memory, because when you're having an interaction with somebody else, if it's physical, emotional, and chemical, it holds it, it remembers it. It doesn't all get released. Some of it gets released and we can pass it through, and it doesn't affect us. But the work is realizing that actually it's just being held in my body. So it's good to get someone to perhaps help you work through that, to shift it out of your body, because you cannot go back there. It's physically impossible to go back there. And I think if people knew that, like, just invite that in, to know that you physically cannot go back there, and talking to the body and allowing the body to understand that you're not going back there. You're safe, actually. You're safe. And again, it comes back to that root chakra. We were just starting our conversation around, it's probably the work around that you're actually safe, and you're not that person that you were. You're not even that person you were 3 hours ago. You're not really that person a week ago. So, and again, that's the download that some of us don't have yet. It's the connection that we've got some things missing, and that's what the industry ended up calling blocks. But they're just circuitries that haven't been fired up yet.
Yeah, it's like the 8 or the infinity, and there's just a piece missing, so it can't jump over, and it's just not flowing.
Or it does jump. It does sort of jump over, it skips it, but that's where you go, well, I'm missing something, I don't quite understand. And that's the disorientation. And we've been so well designed in our domestication, and by so many influences. I mean, if you sat there today and you wrote a list of how many people in your life have influenced you, so you start off from your birth, you can write a list going, my mum, obviously your parents, then you've got perhaps grandparents, teachers. If you started to write a list, or even people that you've met along your way, you will see how we got domesticated and lost in other people's beliefs and their domestication. It's so huge. And this is sometimes, I think, why we feel so disorientated, that we're trying to find our true self, because we're so layered with so many other people's beliefs and domestication. And, who says we ever get to a point? There's no destination, but we can certainly start to work on unpacking it, so that we move out of suffering and pain. And
I do have a question coming up there. So we as humans, we are copycats. So that's how we learn, right? That's how we get our safety. When we copy our parents, we copy, that's how we learn language. That's how we learn to walk. That's how we learn to eat. That's, as the humans that we are, or the animals, mammals that we are, that's how we live, right? So it's crucial for our survival to copy. So where do you differentiate between survival copy and that domestication that you've spoken about, with the layers of all the different people, and how, Can
yes,
we?
a really good question. Is that what the question is, Leah? Is that what the question is? Yeah. For me, it's we're always going to have domestication. We're always going to have it. That's a given because we're brought up around it. So we're always going to have that kind of domestication. I think the trick is to learn how to be aligned with what's true for you out of those domestications, is to find what's actually true. That's it. Do you believe it or do you not? And learning the art of that is what, is part of our journey, is learning the art of, do I say yes? Do I say no? What do I want to do? When you learn how to be discerning, it's those things that will help you, guide you through that, because there's always going to be domestication. You are always going to have somebody else that tells you what kind of mask you're wearing. And that comes from a Toltec tradition. They talk a lot about that. What mask are you wearing? So, for instance, with my children, I'll wear a different mask, or they'll perceive I have a different mask because I'm mummy. When I have a girlfriend, friend that I'm talking to, she'll perceive me in a certain way. So people will always try and domesticate you. They will always have their own perception of who you are. Can't get away from it. So what you learn is, or what we're learning is, how do we navigate through that? What is it that's true for us? Where am I curious? Where do I ask questions? Be respectful, be discerning, but listen. It's
also the responsibility of the giver of the knowledge and the receiver of the knowledge. If the giver is actually, when you're thinking about the dance mums that never had a chance to have a dance career themselves, so they're forcing their kids to do it, so it is kind of also their responsibility to say, is this me or is this my child? And we always have, as parents especially, always that, but also I guess when we're looking at friendships and colleagues and, what is actually, how can I fire their light more? How can I support them more? And that's where society needs to go, into actually looking at a society where everybody is able to express themselves how they're supposed to be and not what they want for themselves, because then you're actually just expressing that mask of what that other person wants you to do.
Yeah, 1,000%. There's a, I can't remember where I heard it now, but something that comes to mind when you're sharing that is, an example of that is, say there's a family that's living in Texas on a ranch, right? And they're really into their horses, they're living that ranch life, that's their life. And they bring into the world this beautiful little girl who just wants pink fairy dust and just wants to paint all day. That's just, she loves that. She doesn't want to be, shoveling horse poo, or she doesn't want to take on the family's beliefs and all their stuff. This is what she wants to do. So how they domesticate her is they will say, well, that's not going to earn you any money. That's not. So the bigger picture of that is they are withdrawing their love in a way. So as a young child, she's like, well, I want to be loved. So she drops what her passion is and does what her family is so that she can feel connected, feel loved, feel all that. And then this is the journey that we all go on, is to unravel all that. Because at the end of the day, we are already loved. We are already connected. And that's a belief and all those things. So it's so much bigger. That's why I believe perhaps that we have so many lifetimes. Because we just can't do it all in one lifetime, I don't think. Maybe some, who knows. But yeah,
life is so much fun.
And this is the thing, you've got to remember that for me, I'm like, this is the cycle of life. This is the enjoyment of it. This is the unfolding of it. This is part of, the sharing and the connection of all of it. If we didn't have language, if you didn't even have nothing's right or wrong, and that's something else, that's a really big thing for people to get their head around. If nothing's right or wrong, right? You can put that into, if nothing's right or wrong and I stole a sweet or lolly off you, nothing's right or wrong. You could have that perspective. But if you just took all the language away, if you just took some of that all away, like whether you're fat, whether you're thin, whether you're ugly, whether you're pretty, or if you just picked all that language without the meaning behind it, and we came into just is, And we can do that as a huge collective. We just got to make the choice of doing that.
And coming back to the stealing lollies from somebody else, it's like, if it's aligned with your values and it's, what you're doing right now, there, it is absolutely what you need to do right now.
It's
that really your values, though. We I work at a school, and we had some teenage kids break into our workshop and steal something from us, and it's really sad to see, right? But then, is it really their values, or like, where does this come from? Stealing from other people, where does that come from? Is it boredom? They don't know what else to do, they need the money, and I always feel like, yeah, if it's really what you want to do, then go ahead and do it. But I actually don't think that you want to be that person. And we were thinking about, obviously we called the police, and the police is getting involved, and we've got photos of the children because they were just being idiots, and them going into the police system will not change anything. So how can we actually help these children find passion or find, their space? Because the only thing that is missing in their life is love. So yeah,
and there's a wholeness to all this, right? Remember, there's responsibility on both sides. We're all calling in something, right? So I'm going to give you another analogy, so to hopefully help explain this. So if you have a TV, which most of us do, and I don't like TV, I don't watch TV, not interested in it, not keen on it at all. You cover it up, you don't even look at it, you don't play with it. And then one day, someone breaks into your home and steals your TV. And you go, bloody hell, someone broke in and stole my telly, da 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 da. But let's go back to the beginning. The beginning of it is the energy that you put out there was, I don't want that TV.
Yeah.
So somebody played a part and said, okay, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's your responsibility in all of that. Of that. And that's what it keeps bringing us back to. That's the authenticity of where is your energy. We can talk maybe another time around money. That is, I love talking about money in that aspect, because it's such a huge domestication. We are so domesticated around that subject. So yeah, I hope that answers that. So I hope you can expand within within yourself. It's always going to come back to you. What's your participation? Without, and yeah, look, if you feel called, if it's your passion to help children that are doing that, then remember, you're still calling that in. You're still playing a part for them to do it, so that you can create that. You are still playing you are still participating within that. I know, right? I know. And this is the thing. This is what I'm saying, is that this is where we, how did I play a part in that? Come back to it and see the beauty in it, and just go, okay. Because if you don't want something, I can tell you won't have it. And again, that comes to incongruency as well. We're talking about congruency, so you've got to have your mind and your heart set on it. They can't be out of sync. If they're out of sync, it just doesn't work. And this is the play on people, that they think that's what they want, because it's the domestication. It's the domestication of, I should be having a white picket fence house, and I should be da 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 da. It's all the shoulds and whatever's up in the mind, but the heart goes, I just want to paint. I just want to go and get my paintbrushes and paint fairies all day, because that's what I love to do. And if that little girl perhaps was allowed to do that and supported, she could have been perhaps a famous artist. Who knows? Like, she'd be living her life.
You know how it works. When you follow your passion, it'll just fall, because that's all that the universe wants to see.
That's all. It's your why. No matter what you're doing, really, one of the biggest things I learned through all my mentors was really why. Is ask yourself why you're doing it, and you can use that in everything you're doing. It can bring you back to the nugget, the gold seed your healing, of your reconnection, the circuitry within you to go, that's why I did that. I did that because I was getting something out of it. I wasn't being authentic. And I lied, or I pretended. And you justify it, right? You can justify it. You can justify why you do things very easily, very, very easily. And again, this isn't about beating yourself up. I really want to come into some compassion around that, just to really feel like I want to seal that off, because this isn't about beating yourself up, even when you get to those things and you perhaps feel like that really wasn't perhaps aligned with me. Come into love and compassion, and perhaps that's where, you know, some of that needs to come in. Actually, I'm not really loving myself enough and giving myself enough compassion around that, because my need is, I'm lonely, and my need, you know, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that. Then love yourself enough in that to go, okay, I'm just going to sit with that. Because for me, that's what, for me, instead of bringing the shadow into the light, it's the other way around for me. I like to bring the light into the shadow. And bring that together, because it's like, for me, when I think about those things, like there's just that inner child. Is it those inner domestications where we perhaps didn't make a choice, we didn't know we had a choice, and we were either laughed at or something sort of happened, and we made a contract with ourselves. We made a decision that we were not going to do that anymore. Whether we made a decision, I'm not going to fall in love again, I'm not going to feel that ever again. That will stay in the shadow. When you make that contract, it's going to stay in the shadow. And until you bring the light in, all your interactions will be that, because you've made a decision around that, and you're probably very congruent with that. And then we wonder why we're not in love. We wonder why we're picking up idiots, or what we conceive idiots, but they're showing us they're idiots. So there's always this mirror. Everything we do is a mirror.
Yeah, life is just, you really need, you know how Buddha says, at the end of the day, meditate for 1 hour. When you're stressed, 2 hours. And I think that is so true, because when we, like in meditation, you can reflect and you can see and you can just be quiet and just learn from what has happened during the day. Like that's, if you, a lot of people say meditate at the beginning of the day, but I think the end of the day, reflection of the day, and you can see, you know, the triggers that have come up, or what happened, or, you know, or do some gratitude. That's when you'll see the golden nuggets around your programming or domestication, we call it. So it's yeah, I think I need to reflect a little bit more.
There's a lot that we shared today, and you know, if you're on the replay as well, or even if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by our conversation today, just perhaps come back and, you know, have another listen, you know, in reflection with your eyes open. I think it's really nice to do some reflection with your eyes open. Sometimes we close our eyes, we're still thinking just with our eyes closed, but you know, find a really tranquil space, and maybe just listen to some of the conversation, certainly around the responsibility aspect, because you know, we've learned again through mind shift, the divine timing, and I think a lot about that, and created my own divine timing as well. I've created my own one, and one of them is you can stay in awareness about anything, right? And awareness is key. Like, don't get me wrong, it really is super, super powerful, and it is a major step to not being conscious about what's happening. So when you come into the awareness, so if somebody thinks, you know, I'm actually, you know, say drinking a lot, I'm really drinking a lot of alcohol, I'm really aware of that. I'm really aware now of, I'm doing it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm really aware of that. But unless you can stay in awareness for years, right? We learned that in my shift too. You can stay in awareness. This is really powerful for me. You can stay in awareness. And a lot of people say, oh, awareness is key. It is. But people say, think, well, I'm in awareness and I know I'm doing it. And again, nothing's right or wrong, right? If you believe that, nothing's right or wrong. This is to broaden the understanding. You come into the awareness, but if you're not prepared to take the next step, perhaps for your own well-being, for your own, you know, your own beloved, which is you are your beloved, and go into the responsibility of going, okay, how am I just having a view, having a different kind of lens, and going, this isn't working for me. I'm getting headaches. I'm not really eating very well. I'm getting hangover, or whatever it is for you, is coming into the responsibility of it, moving through those other cycles. But responsibility is such a huge one, and I also feel very, very deeply that this is what we're moving into with everything, with this shift in our consciousness, shift in our world, is for me the word responsibility. And if we break that word up quickly, it's response and ability. Right? Don't be frightened of the word responsibility, because again, we've been domesticated. What's your responsibility? I mean, that undertone, that whole, not my stuff, it's your responsibility. Well, I don't want to do it then if you make it sound like that. It sounds too hard. But if you think about it in a place of response and ability, different things. Again, your responsibility is a choice. It's still totally up to you. It's totally still empowering. Totally still empowering. It's a nicer word than we have actually been taught. It's actually very, very empowering. I believe that's what we're coming into. And people are frightened. People are nervous. People are not sure what to do, what to take seriously. Do I believe in that? So it is playing a lot on people. But I get this sense that we'll move through that and we'll become certainly more deeply empowered.
Yeah.
Thank you. Someone said, thank you, beautiful conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for being on with us this whole time, Rosalie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, there's so many aspects to it. We can just touch on one subject, like someone's just written here. Yes, go to it when stressed or in lack. Definitely. The word lack is we can, I'm in lack. Like, we can chew the fat on that. We can chew the fat on that 1,000 times and blow big bubbles like bubble gum, and then pop it and chew it again and blow it up and pop it. There's so much content that I think has been so boxed in. But for too long now. For too long, I think we should start questioning, what does that mean for me? And I'm not saying anything I'm saying here is right or wrong. Please, these are my own deep resonance, my own deep love for language and how it's been used, and my own experiences and my own mentors that have been around me. And so everything I share really does come from the heart. Not judging anybody. I'm not making you wrong or right. I'm just here to give you some fairy dust and just share who I am in as much vulnerability as which is allowed during this time. And feeling or experiencing a lack of mindset, definitely. And asking yourself why.
You can be the most spiritual person, but sometimes you will still make decisions out of lack. It's just what happens, because
Buddhist monks still think when they're meditating. I don't care what they say. They still think. There you go. That one's just like enough to go, I can relax now. We are thinking beings. What the art that the monks do is they know they're thinking. That's it. They know they're thinking. And they can differentiate between the thinking and knowing that they're thinking, to being present with it and not allowing it to take them off. That's the difference. It's not about not thinking for meditation.
No, it doesn't happen. Not thinking does not work.
It does not work, because the more you try not to think, you're actually thinking. It's like you can't stop thinking.
Just quiet down. I'm thinking even more now.
So if you take that away with you today and just relax about that, and it's having the awareness that you're thinking. That's really what it is. And being quiet in the awareness of that. That's the art. Once you went, that's it.
Yeah.
Any other quick questions before we go, Leah? I've loved this so much. Thank you.
I'm actually, my mind is really full. I think I need to sit on my balcony and just reflect. Something happens on my balcony, but it's like there is, for me, my balcony is magic. I can sit out there and I just can release stuff, and there's stuff coming in. It's just beautiful. That's probably just, something that I'm making up, but I love sitting out on my balcony, and it's amazing. And I just feel like I need to have some time, but I love this conversation, and it was so easy to chat with you, and I'm so looking forward to doing this more. I know we have put out the intention now about what we want to do, and I know that these conversations are so important because I don't think we have them enough. When I started my journey, the only person that I could speak to was my mum. And now every conversation I have is about this. And it's, I've just met so many amazing people on the way, but those people that are at the beginning, they might not know that it's okay to speak and ask these questions and talk about this. And this is what we're here for, to be open to questions and to just holding the space.
Exactly. We welcome everything, and it's a safe space, and we may not even always have the answers, where I'm still under construction, okay, and I'm still learning. I learn all the time from everybody and everything, so I still, I'm still under construction. I love that. That's so thank you, Leah. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a wonderful Easter, if that's your choice, of religion and stuff. But,
Exactly, not judging.
No, I'm not judging. I feel like sometimes when you say Happy Easter to someone, it's like, well, it's very Christian, or
I don't know if you're actually celebrating Easter. But there is holidays, so you do have the times off, and it's
enjoy
if you're here in the Western world, anyways. So
All right. Love
Thank
and
you
light
so much.
to you all.
See you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye.